Welcome to another Motivational Monday. Today's going to be a cool video for you because, in a lot of ways, because I had the fortunate experience and the opportunity to bring to one of our private masterminds at our office, which was for the chairman's group only, which many of you haven't even heard about. It's above high six. And I was able to bring to that table via Zoom Peter. Peter is one of our partners in the Wicked Smart Companies. And I say fortunate experience because it's not too often that you get to pick the brain of a gentleman that built from scratch, from humble beginnings, one of the largest fitness brands in the world, and sold that two pieces of the pie, so to speak, twice. You're going to hear that, and then still retains a piece of it. And both of those equity events for him were over 40 million a piece. Now, to be able to get him in a room, we've had him at events, we've had him at private masterminds, we've had him at high six masterminds. These are the things that are required to build a business, to scale your life, to scale your finances, to scale your health, to scale everything. It's not just about doing a deal. I say it over and over, I wish it were that easy where I could just show you how to do a deal, then you go out and you create all these creative financing deals. It's great, but it's all the other stuff that we throw into the Wicked Smart community that grows you as an individual, that grows you and your family's experiences, et cetera, et cetera. So enjoy this week's Motivational Monday. You're going to love it.
Going into those days with the right headspace, in the right mindset, you don't feel as blindsided when you have those challenging moments and those challenging situations. Now, when they come about, depending on the severity of the situation, here's one thing you never do. You never panic, okay? Understand that you're in that situation with opportunity comes risk, okay? And it's all calculated risk. And everything that you go into, just understand, try to be preemptive on getting out in front of where you feel like you may be exposed. And I tell you what, a lot of the coaching that I do with people, they get in situations where they feel like they were blindsided, and I have to reel them back a little bit. And I say, okay, well, let's just unwind this. Let's unpack this a little bit. We knew that this could happen, and it happened. And here were the signs that you were heading down that path where the risk could expose itself. So I try to get people, look, understanding, everybody likes to focus on the upside, but you've absolutely got to be cognizant of what the downside, where the exposure lies. And then how do you limit your downside? Never get yourself into a situation where the downside can sink the ship, okay? I see that far too often. People get overextended. They think all they look at is the upside, and they never look at if a couple of these things go sideways, what does it do to my cash flow? What does it do to my lifestyle? How do I dig myself out of the hole? I tell you what, another point, when you lose, it's a hell of a lot harder to get back on your feet because you don't have as much cash to work with. So I guess the punchline is be prepared, understand what you're getting into, and then press forward, being cognizant where that exposure might lie.
Yeah, very. If I can just build on that. What about when you feel like quitting? Well, let me rephrase it. At what point is there a point where you realize maybe this is, I made the wrong decision and it's time to close it down and do something else?
Look, that's a great question. And, another time I've worked with many people where the pride gets in the way of making good business decisions. Okay. And that's all it is. It's people's pride thinking that if they shut this business down, that they're a failure. But the reality of it is, in some cases, that is the business decision. Because I tell them, look, the capital it's going to take to pivot this business, the juice isn't worth the squeeze. The product is no longer relevant. And for you to push this into a relevant space, I think you're going to be better off shutting this business down and then reopening, relaunching under a different brand with a different model with the same set of enthusiasm that you had with this one. The problem is you got into the game too late. That's what happens to a lot of people. A lot of people, they get into business, they're late to the party. Okay. The business, the opportunity it's not as robust as it once was. Why? Because there's so much more people in the space. The space is so much more competitive. So look, being in business, I can't stress it enough. Being in business is winning and losing. Okay. And losing is just as much a part of winning. Okay. I can't stress it enough. You're going to have some home runs. You're going to have some singles, some doubles, and you're going to have some strikeouts. It happens. And if anybody's going to be completely honest with you, they're going to tell you, look, every failure I've had has been the greatest learning experience of this whole, endeavor. Okay. That's where the gold is. The gold is in the loss. If you're going to really take a step back and evaluate it, and that's the great part of it. When you lose, accept it. All right. Don't be down on yourself. Go back and unpack it and understand what exactly was it. What were the material items? What were the movers, APIs that I missed that I need to pay more attention to in the next round of whatever it is I'm doing?
Great. Thank you.
Yeah. I can't stress it enough. When people think I lost, you didn't lose. It's a learning experience. And as cliche as that is, that's part of winning, because you are going to lose. And if you beat yourself up every time you lose, what's going to happen is pretty soon you quit putting yourself out there. Okay. It's calculated risk. Just make sure when you're going into something that, as you're wading into those waters of something you've never done before, a normal reaction, a normal feeling that you're going to have is you're going to feel, a little bit out of your element. Perfectly normal. It's not divine intervention. Okay. It's not God telling you not to do it. It's a perfectly normal feeling that you have, which is a level of doubt. But doubt can be a wet blanket on opportunity. Okay, so you got to remember, look, this is perfectly normal, but you've gone into this with your eyes open. You've gone into this business with your eyes wide open. You're well aware of what the downside is. Okay, why? Because you've done your homework. Okay, and that's why I tell people, look, of course, look at the upside. That's what that's why you're going to chase the opportunity. If there's not enough upside there, you're not going to do the deal. You're not going to do it. Okay. But just as important, look at your downside. What is the full extent of my downside? And can I live with that? Okay. That's just a full reflection of how you should look at every deal that you're doing.
Awesome. Mr. Rick.
Good morning, Peter. Question.
By the way, let me tell Peter. So Rick, after 30 years working for the government, Peter, he's talked to you in the past. He left May 19th. He's full-time.
Nice. I love it. I love it. That's a great time. 30 years with the government. It's time to make a pivot, right?
Yeah, definitely. Actually, it's closer to 40, but
yeah. You know what? Hey, just to that point. Well, first of all, congratulations on a great career, right? But the space that you're getting into now, this is being an entrepreneur is probably the antithesis of being a government employee, right? I mean, so this is going to be a different experience for you. It's going to be very, very rewarding. And let's just, on these first deals that you do, let's just go into them with a level of caution, okay? Because when you make a transition as drastic as you are right now, sometimes people, if you lose on especially your first couple of deals, you're thinking, oh my gosh, this is so much more risky than this other steady job that I had, okay? But if you go into some conservative deals early on, don't bet the farm. And when you win, when you got cash coming back at you, okay, you invested it and now it's coming back. Now you get a feel for what the cadence of this is, how these deals work. Some deals, I mean, I work with Chris and Zach on deals. Some deals are shorter, some deals are longer, but you know what? Most of them are positive. And when we have one that goes sideways for something that was unforeseen, something that we couldn't predict, we live with the downside. But at the end of the day, we count our money once a year, and hopefully our money is more than when we started. That's winning. So your question, sorry.
My first 4 deals, I've got 4, but all 4 of them were over 6 figures, so.
Good for you.
I'm a little spoiled with them.
Hey, look, you know what? And here's what's a good thing to do. Congrats on that, because that's amazing, especially in today's day and age with a little bit higher interest rates. So good on you for doing that. You know, you'd probably be well served to go back and really look at those deals that you did and what were some of the fundamental, you know, KPIs of those deals. Because obviously, when you find a formula that's working, and Chris and Zach have been very, very good at this, when you find a formula that's working, don't deviate it, okay? Stick to what works. I see this so often. People, they're winning, and they get a little bit cocky, okay? They think that, you know, that every deal works like this. Just stick to the protocol, stick to the plan, because the plan works. Don't go off the rails.
The goal is 5-2.
Yes. So the other question, the question I really had was when you turned around the first health club and you scaled your business and then you got to, was it 100 million? I'm not sure.
The first bite of the apple, it was at 100 million. Mm-hmm.
And then you scaled once again. What was it that really triggered the major scaling effort? Was it mindset? Was it skill set? Was it opportunity? Was it an event?
So Rick, you're saying after you sold the little piece way back when,
Right.
for just a few million, then
Yeah.
the big.
Yeah, look, you know what? It's a great question. And I'll tell you straight away exactly what it was. And this is a great nugget for you. When you're doing something and it's winning, okay? So for me, you know, the first building that first company, and in 5-6 years, I could see the momentum. I could see that the business, I could see that I had the right people, I had the right process, I had the right mindset. I was my head, I was in it. I knew that there was not a better opportunity in front of me than that moment. So what did I do? I just focused on my systems, processes, and redundancy, doing the same thing, delivering great value, and the company would keep growing. Okay, so now when I'm growing it, pretty soon private equity is calling me because I'm all over the publications. I'm growing this brand. I'm growing leaps. I'm growing exponentially, triple digits year over year, like not 1 year, year over year. Now, the prudent thing for me to do, I took a bite of the apple. Okay, I took my first, the company is valued at 100 million. I pulled 47 million off the table, and it didn't go back into the business because the business was spinning up cash. It went into my personal checking account. That's the prudent thing to do as an entrepreneur. Take some cash off your deal, because I've seen it too many times. People keep doubling down on everything. And if anything goes sideways, they're sitting there, they're all that hard work is lost because they lost it in a bad deal. They didn't put anything aside. Okay. So I pulled 47 million, which, let's face it, that's a hell of a lot of money, right? I pulled that aside, but I knew then at that point, my life was never going to be the same. Now, the important part, I was growing the company and everything that I was doing was working. So I continued, even with 47 million in the bank, I still ran the business like I was poor. I still behaved like I was poor. I was driving that business. I was in it every day. And look, in 5 years' time, I grew it from $100 million company to a $200 million company. Okay. I didn't get distracted. I didn't get away from my core business. I didn't go out and start buying other business that was outside of my core competency. Okay. I stayed focused on what I was doing. Okay. That is so key. People sometimes when they're in a business and it's spinning off cash and everything is going up and to the right. For some reason, people get the harebrained idea that they've got to be diversified from their core competency. I see it all the time. And many times when I get involved, I got to pull them aside and I say, look, what happened? Why the hell did you go down this path? Why did you think you had to diversify? You're putting 60% of your time into something that's generating 5% of your wealth. Get back to the core, get back to the basics. If you feel, focus on what's winning for you, and then pay attention to how, whatever industry you're in, how is it evolving? In your guys' case, real estate. Okay, look, with interest rate, different strategies come into play. That's why Chris and Zach, these guys, what they're doing, they've been doing it forever. They've seen all the different cycles of real estate. And as you go through these cycles, there's a different strategy. Okay. And the same with business. But I can tell you this, the strategy in business is not to be defocused and think you got to diversify into other classes of business that have nothing to do with real estate. In my case, getting outside of the health and wellness space, that was my sweet spot. I knew human behavior. I knew how to deliver value. I knew how to motivate the team. So now all I had to do was replicate it, redundancy. Here I sit today. Now I stepped down as the CEO of those brands, but I'm still chairman of the board of all those brands and 6,000 locations in 28 countries. Okay, so look, I built a great system. They continue to grow. They continue to build wealth. And, eventually, I think in the next 2 to 3 years, I will exit that business. That's the other side of being an entrepreneur, is taking chips off the table. I've had 2 bites of the apple at 100 million and 200 million. And the last 25% of the business that I own, then it'll be sayonara for that business anyway.
Pete, I got to follow up because it came up twice in this room. Sort of where Rick was going, but Brian brought up too. And that is, you go way back now to when you were muscling it out with a few gyms, right? You starting up, turning that around. What were, like, I don't know, I'll say 1, 2, or 3 things that helped or caused or assisted you and then moving to the next level, totally, like scaling out of the trenches and moving to the next level?
Yeah, the first opportunity I had, let's face it, and I didn't know at the time that this was going to be my springboard, that this was going to launch me into eventually creating one of the largest wellness brands in the world. You never know that. I mean, none of us have a crystal ball, right? But for me, it was the people, okay, or lack thereof. When I walked in to take over this failing health club, keep in mind, I'm 22 years old, didn't have a lot of experience in leading people other than what I had watched my father do at his grocery store in the small town that I grew up in. I mean, I literally went to school in a 2-room schoolhouse, right? It's so, look, I grew up very, poor with a great work ethic. And I learned that from my father. When I walked into this business that was failing, first thing I noticed was the people. There was no passion there. Nobody was delivering value. And the first value proposition you give to the consumer is making them feel appreciated. The club was filthy. The equipment was tired, and the morale of the business was down. So why would you want to support a business like that when you're not feeling special? So for me, it went right. I got right in there and I said, look, first thing we're going to do, we're going to clean this business. We're going to clean the club. That's number one. Number two, what can we do immediately? We have no cash flow, but what's easy and what's cheap? It started with paint. Okay. Started painting walls, just freshening things up. Then I got creative. I went to every carpet store in my little town and I bartered for free carpet for memberships. Okay. Keep in mind, I had no money. All right. So I bartered for carpet. And now, keep in mind, now the members are coming in. What are they noticing? Here's this guy, he's 22 years old. I was one of the youngest employees and I was the manager. Okay. I was a manager with an opportunity to become an owner if I could turn this business around. So they see me painting, they see me trading out, getting carpet. Well, pretty soon, this little community of 15,000 people, they started rallying around me. They started rallying because for the first time in the history of the business, they started to see passion. The staff was different. And when I was going in and making improvements, I started at the front door. Okay. You never get a second chance for a first impression. So I started at the front door and worked my way to the back of the club. But you know what? It took me 8 years to turn that business around. But in 8 years, I went from being a manager to having enough equity to own it. Okay. So that was my launch pad. And that same fundamentals of getting in the trenches and leading people by example, those fundamentals stayed with me even to this day. I'm launching my 4th brand right now. And I'm a couple of years into it. I'm up to 168 locations. You know, in 2 years, I've built this company today. If I tried to sell it, it's probably worth somewhere between 35 and 50 million. In 2 years, I'm using the same fundamentals that I did 25 years ago with my first brand, honestly.
So with those being within the same space, how do you avoid that competition?
Competition of my people or competition within the environment, business environment?
Between brands, between your brands?
Look, you know, it's all under, you know, all of my brands are health and fitness related, but they're all a different value proposition. You know, one of them is the traditional, you know, health club experience. One of the other brands is a boxing experience called 9 Round, okay, which is a circuit boxing thing. And look, here's another point. 9 Round boxing, that's never been my thing. I don't even like it. Okay. I don't even like it, but I knew that there's a segment of the population that liked it. And I built a business model where this business all in was about 120,000. But if you could come to the table with 25,000, I could get you financed. Okay. So I love the segment. I love that it was a business where I could empower people to chase their own dream. If you could come to the table with 25,000, I can finance the balance for you and get you into business, and you can find your own way to the promised land of financial freedom if you're willing to put in the work. And that's why that model took off, because it was relevant. There was a segment of the population that wanted that as their form of workout. It was a great opportunity for young entrepreneurs to get into business. It was great. So you know, they're all in the fitness space, but they're a little bit different.
That's great. No, that answers what I was looking for. Thank you.
You got it. No problem.
Well, what's up? What else you guys got for Pete?
Pete, how you doing? Good to see you. It's Brian.
Yes. Good to see you.
Going back to what you first said, when you first got on, you got your workout clothes on, you got this great habit, health and fitness guy. My question for you specifically was, I'm getting older. I'm going to be 50 next year. And what is your strategy around health and fitness? Like, what type of workouts are you doing? How often are you doing them? And then what does your diet look like? If you could share that, I'd be super interested.
Yeah, look, starting your day with great habits, starting your day off on the right track is critical for me. I'll give you a perfect example, and I know better. And generally, I train about 6 days a week, but sometimes I'll go 14, 15 days in a row. It just, things get in the way. Now, yesterday, I don't come down from my bedroom without my workout clothes on. Okay. Because I know if I come down without my workout clothes on, there's a chance that I won't get my workout in. All right. I know myself. So I set myself up for success. I literally come downstairs with my workout gear with the intent that I'm going to get my workout out of the way. That's number one. Okay. As it relates to diet and nutrition, look, it's fuel, right? And look, I'm not neurotic. If I want pizza, I'm going to have pizza. If I want a burger, I'm going to have burger, but I don't do it every day, right? Because it's no fun having, salads all the time or whatnot. Now, my typical nutritional routine for me, it's protein and vegetables. Okay. I sprinkle in some carbs in there. And one of my favorite dishes is pasta. That's one of my favorites, right? But I know that that's not good for me, 3 days a week. But so I indulge myself in areas where I want to, but I realize that look, I've got to hold myself accountable. I have to have discipline and accountability. Another thing that I do for myself that works, I weigh myself every day. First thing in the morning, I weigh myself. Okay. That is key. That is key, because now that is never going to get away from you. For me, my fighter weight is about 180, 182 pounds. That's great for me. I don't like being lighter than that. I'm 6 foot and today I was 183 pounds. Okay. If I get to 188, then I look in the mirror and I go, hey, fat bastard, quit eating. Stop it. Okay. That's my trigger. I tell myself, hey, stop it. Stop whatever you're doing. Because I don't want to wake up one day and have my 32-inch waist be 34, 36 inch. Okay. That's not what I want to do. And so discipline, accountability, and that transcends into business. Okay. You can't, discipline and accountability is everything, and perspective. Okay. A lot of times, I like that third word, perspective, because sometimes people approach me and they say, Peter, I'm stuck. And I start going in and start looking at what they're doing. And I say, look, you're not stuck at all. You're moving the needle. What you need to do, you need to set those goals out there. So set it out there almost like your North Star. That's where I want to be 1 year, 2, 3 years. I wouldn't do anything longer than 3 years. Don't do a 5-year plan because things are moving too fast. Do a 3-year plan, but then set milestones. Set milestones where you want to be every 6 months. So you have a breadcrumb trail as to where you've come from. Because I tell you what, the reason I say perspective is a lot of times people don't know how long it can actually take. All right. But they're moving the needle, they're patient, they continue to drive themselves and the business. And you can't get there without discipline and accountability.
Love it. Thank you, Peter. I have one more quick question. Do you have any tips, ideas, strategies on what the best way to raise money is, specifically for real estate deals? I know you do a lot of for business.
Yeah.
Specifically for real estate. And if you want to share business ideas, that's great too.
Well, look, raising capital starts with opportunity. Okay. I mean, that's the bottom line. And, I can tell you, if you're raising capital, especially when people ask me for money, my first question to them is, how much of your money do you have in it? Okay. Because I'm not a fan of OPM, other people's money. All right. That I always like it when people come to me, hey, Peter, I just had a group 30 days ago wanted me to get involved in this pickleball court monstrosity, right? Very relevant sport, one of the fastest growing sports in the country today. They're raising $15 million. Okay. And so they said, Peter, they wanted me to put in $2.5 million. And I said, how much equity do I get for $2.5 million? And they said, well, you're going to get about 15%. Okay, so keep in mind now, I just do the quick and dirty math. I mean, you guys, you haven't sold one pickleball membership yet, and you got a valuation on this damn thing for 24, 25 million. I mean, look, guys, and then how much of your money do you have into it? Okay, together they've got maybe $500,000, maybe $1 million. Okay, they're going to put $1 million of their money. It's a collection of 3 guys. And they're going to maintain a majority of the equity in the business. And I told the guys, hey, look, first of all, I'm not interested. But second of all, you guys are never going to raise a dime the way you're trying to do it. Okay, look, you're going to come to the party with literally less than 10% of the capital requirement needed. Literally, it's more like 4% of what you're bringing. And you're going to maintain all this equity. People aren't going to do it. I mean, you're going to saddle me with the downside, and I got very little upside in the deal. So for me, when I'm going out, if I'm going to raise capital, number one, I make sure the product is relevant. Number two, I make sure that whoever is the founder, whoever is the driver of this business, that they're vested. Now, here's the other side of it, though. Sometimes in deals, I'll ask the founder of it, how much of your money do you have into it? All right. Let's say he has 200,000. I say, if you don't mind, show me your tax return for the last 3 years. Show me your personal financial statement. Hey, look, if he's got a net worth of, 500 grand and 300 of that is tied up in his home, and he's got 200,000 of his hard cash into this business, he's all in. Okay. He's all in. And I appreciate that. I want the founder, hey, look, relatively speaking, if this business fails, he's going to lose more than I am. Okay. So he's going to be getting up early, staying up late, driving the business. He's motivated. So I got to believe in the person. I always say, look, you know what? I'm going to ride this person like Seabiscuit, right? I'm going to drive them because this is their business. My job is, yes, I'm going to give you some cash, but you've got to drive this business. I'm going to give you any insight I can to keep you focused. I'm very familiar with how to bootstrap a company. I've never been a big fan of, we're going to raise a bunch of capital and go into this. I would rather say, look, let's bootstrap it. Let's put a timeline around it. And then let's build our business from cash flow. Perfect example, Nautical Bowls, the brand I'm doing right now. You know how much cash we put into it? 50,000. Okay. I started the business with 50,000. Lift Brands, my first company, I started that business with $300,000 and in 12 years built it to a $200 million company. The idea of going in and raising a bunch of cash and then hiring a bunch of people and then building your business, look, that's not for me. I would much rather go in there with a very solid plan, execute on the plan, put the cash back into the business so I can grow it exponentially. And then have a liquidity event, have an event where when I decide to take some chips off the table, it's meaningful. So, the quick answer to your question is, how do I raise cash? Number one, I make sure that the business that I'm raising cash for, that it's sound. I make sure that the economics make sense, meaning the valuation is right. Okay. Meaning like the pickleball guys. Yeah, we value this at 25 to 30 million. Yes, that's who. Who's going to get, you haven't even put a spade in the ground and you've got a valuation over and above of what this business is worth when it's done. Hey, look, I can understand some appreciation, but you guys, the lens that you're looking through this deal, you're looking at the 100% of the upside. You're not evaluating the downside. And a guy like me coming into this venture, look, upside. Hey, Peter, this is going to be worth 70 million someday. Okay, I get 10% of that. Okay, think about that. I get 10% of that upside, but you're going to want my balance sheet. You're going to want me to help cover some of this downside. My downside is so much greater than my upside. Why the hell would I do that? Okay, once again, fundamentals. There's no stupid money out there. All right. Just so that's how I look at it. In many cases, I say no to, honestly, I bet I say no to probably 98% of the deals, depending what the capital ask is. If it's 100,000 here or there, I'm not as concerned about it. But when you start talking about 500,000 or more, look, I want to make sure, because I can do a lot with 500,000, right?
Hey, you'd be great on Shark Tank, by the way. That was my thought too.
I love Shark Tank. And I love that. There's been a couple of groups that have tried to do these, micro Shark Tank type things. And I would love to do it because I'm passionate about business, but I help people understand what is their blind side, because people come in, they got all the hype. And I said, look, you got a great product, but it's going to be very difficult to scale it. It's too specialized, right? Or it's too nichey. I get that all the time with franchises. People say, hey, Peter, I got this business. It's kicking ass. I want to franchise it. You are the business. You can't franchise it. You are the business. And, you've made it so technical that by the time I dummy this thing down to make it franchisable, by the time I dummy it down, the value of what you're delivering today, it's just not there. Not a scalable franchisable business. Unfortunately, I gotta give that news probably to 90% of the businesses I look at.
John and Corolla, you guys have not hit Peter yet. We got a few minutes left.
Hi, Peter. My name's John.
Hey, John.
Nice to meet you. I'm curious about your goals and the milestones that you say. You said you set 3-year goals or don't go beyond 3 years. Is that is that your future statement? You don't go beyond 3 years for what you envision where you want to grow to, kind of thing, or how do you set those?
Well, I'm gonna use Nautical Bowls as an example. okay, which is what I'm with that company. I looked at it. So the first year of this business, I said, look, I'm going to create a model around the store. All we sell is acai bowls. Okay. Now, this is a franchise concept that is in the food space, and I have zero experience. Did you guys hear me, or was I cutting out?
You're
My
talking-
internet can be a little flaky sometimes. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, we can now.
Better now? Okay. So with nautical bowls, I wanted, my first plan was to create a concept that made sense, that was relevant, and that where the unit level economics worked. Okay. Once I checked that box, then I started selling franchises. I said, look, the first year, if I could sell 15 licenses and maybe get 4 or 5 stores open, that's a good start. And that's about the pace that I did one of my first brands. All right. So that was my first for year one. Well, you know what? I set a goal of selling 15. I think I sold about 30, and I had about a dozen stores open as opposed to 5. So now I knew that the dogs were eating the dog food. The stores were performing. I was figuring out some efficiencies within my system to where I knew that I could turn up the throttle a little bit to increase my trajectory. Okay. I didn't go in, slam the foot to the metal. Okay. That doesn't make any sense. Make sure that you're put yourself in a position to win. Okay. Because you never get a second chance for a first impression. The second year, looking at it, say, okay, you know what? I would like to grow. I would like to, get 50 stores open and have sold, probably 100 to 150. Well, I'm in that right now. Today, I have 46 stores open. I have 58 stores actively under construction, and I've awarded 168 territories. So that's great. Right now, here's what I look at. I've modeled everything out, and I say, how many stores do I have to have open? Based on the stores I have open right now, how much revenue will each store drive into my bottom line, to my EBITDA? Okay. So I'm already thinking about, where do I need to be if I want to exit this business? All right. I'm 2 years into it, and I'm thinking about, what is my exit? So for me, as I model this, if I have about 350 stores open, I've got a $200+ million company. Okay. So think about it now. I'm at 168 awarded territories. By the end of the year, I should have 80 stores open and probably be at 210 to 220 territories awarded. By the end of next year, I will have sold over 350 territories, and I'll probably be in the neighborhood of 150 locations open. So even if I never sell another franchise, if I just get open what's on my books, I've got a $200+ million company. So that's how I look at it. I look at, okay, a $200+ million company. Now, what am I going to do? I'm going to sell a portion of it. I'm not going to liquidate the whole thing. Okay. I'll probably sell half of my equity, because I believe that I can take and build it from there. But as an entrepreneur, you don't ride it to the crescendo and then ride it like a toboggan down the other side. Okay. Don't do that. Okay. Understand, this is where I want to exit. Now, I have private equity companies calling me right now. They go, hey, Peter, you're doing it again, aren't you? It's flattering, but they want to throw money at me. Guys, I'm not interested. I'm not ready for you yet. Okay. Why do they want to get in the game now? Because they know what's going to happen. Time is not their friend. The longer they wait, the more money it's going to cost them. Okay. So that's their mindset, and this is my mindset. So that's how I look at every deal. So in your guys' case, doing real estate deals, if it's me, I would say, look, fundamentally, how many deals do I want to do this year? That's a good mindset. Going in, how many deals do I want to do? What's the required capital to do these deals? What's the time frame surrounding doing these deals? So understand all of the moving parts of what you're doing, and then take a step back and say, okay, I'm going to try to do 7 deals or 8 deals this year, whatever it is. Here's the slippery slope. Don't get so focused on that prize of doing 7 or 8 deals that you forget about the integrity, the KPIs that you need to be checking the box for everything. Don't get caught up on the number. Make every deal stand on its own merit. Okay. That is absolutely key. And you know what? When good deals come, make sure that you've got a process so you can move quick, because opportunity sometimes is not available if it takes you a long time. Okay. And then when you feel like you've got your process down, if you're going to double down, then double down on the human capital to help you do more deals, to help you find more deals, right? I mean, people say, I want to do more deals. Okay, you want to do more deals, then you got to cast a broader net, and you got to have people that are going to be managing some of that paperwork, some of the block and tackling that go around every deal. Because if you're a one-man wrecking crew, you're going to be limited as to how many deals you can do, because there's only 24 hours in a day. You can only do so much. So it's about leveraging Chris and Zach too. Hey, look, you know what? That's what you guys pay for. With the fraternity that you're in, leverage that. Say, look, guys, I want to do 12 deals this year. Tell me, how do I do it? If I'm paying for their services, those are my kind of questions. I want to do 12 deals. And I promise you, they'll share with you stories of how other people did it and how you can do it too. It's just going into these deals with your eyes wide open, right? And then understand, I don't care what business you're in, it's cyclical, okay? Businesses, they ebb and flow because the business climate can change on a dime. Hey, look, if you told me a year ago that interest rates were going to be 2 or 3x of what they were a year ago, I would have said, no way, okay? I mean, honestly, until we get Crazy Joe out of there, we got to do some things to get that push the interest rate down and get more. People don't understand that entrepreneurs, capitalism is what drives the economy. Okay, people investing in business, hiring people, giving them strong salaries, providing, and that's where it's at. It's not the free lunch, liberal program, tax and spend, big government. It's not that. Don't even get me started there.
We got about 2 or 3 minutes. Anyone have one last question?
That was awesome, Peter. Thank you.
Of course.
I have a quick question, just to follow up. I'm curious, what was the difference to you between the pickle, whatever it's called, pickleball, and the seeable? Like, what made you go one way and not the other? Was it just the people with the pickleball, or was it with something else?
Yeah, to me, when I evaluated the pickleball, I told them, look, across the country, every public tennis court, every park that has tennis, they're going to convert those to pickleball courts, because when you go by most parks, those tennis courts are 90% empty. So today, you're going in with a false read of where the opportunity lies. You're going to have a $15 million facility. And right now you're telling me, hey, Peter, there's hardly any pickleball courts in Arizona, in Scottsdale. And I say, yeah, okay. But I'm telling you, the park and rec departments of every city, of every park in the city, they're going to be adding pickleballs. Why? Because the taxpayers are going to demand it. It's not going to take them long. So your biggest competitor is not going to be the private sector opening pickleball. It's going to be the city and the state competing with you, and they're going to be offering free pickleball. Okay. Well, how do you know that? Well, because I'm thinking about it. I see it. I mean, they're not going to sit around there and let grass grow between the cracks of the tennis court. They're going to be proactive. So for me, I didn't like the exposure for that. Acai bowl space. Think about it. Plant-based, dairy-free, gluten-free, soy-free, certified organic, no refined sugar. Okay. So this is a meal replacement. I think this country has salad fatigue. I think there's salads are overdone, right? And people today, I mean, for the last 10 years, people understand eating sensibly and moving your feet, it pays dividends. It pays dividends on the quality of your life. So the acai bowl space, it's not a fad. It's a very simple business, 1 full-time employee, 10 to 15 part-timers. every store that's of mine that's been open for 1 year, every store except one did over 600,000 their first year of operations. 600 grand. Okay. The one that didn't did 560. And it's not that, and that person bought a second license and has opened their second store already. And that store is in the top 20%. So simple business, unit level economics work. It's only 100 grand to get into the business because we finance the balance. I make it easy, right? So for me, evaluating this concept, I said, look, I got to make it, it's got to be relevant and I got to make it easy. You know, and my other deal too on this, like on this particular concept, I told them, look, if I'm going to get involved, here's my rules. I'm going to be equal partners with you. Okay. I didn't pay anything. These guys came to me, they had 2 stores. And they said, you know, Peter, what would you do? I was literally right in my lake house here. I'm here 4 months of the year. They called me one day out of the blue and they said, Peter, you know, we've read a lot about you, heard about you, and I'll be damned, you live a mile up the road from us. Can we come by your house? I looked at over a day or two, I looked at their concept and I said, look, if it were me, I would franchise it. But I said, look, here's the deal. Equal partners. If I'm going to get involved with this, equal partners, and I run the company. Because nobody likes to hear their baby's ugly. And I changed some things. I took their business and I dummied it down. Okay. Because I got to make this thing just dummy proof. And you know what? I told them this is either going to work out really good for you or it's going to suck. It's going to be one of the two. And if it doesn't work, if my hunch is wrong, I'll give you my equity back because it's not worth my time, right? I'll give it to you. It doesn't matter, right? But they made the right choice. I mean, as I said, now, you know, one of them is involved. One of them's hardly involved at all anymore, and the other one knows a lot about the operations inside a store. So I use it. I've created my team. It's virtual. I don't have an office. Everybody works from home, and you know we're building. There's no one growing in the acai bowl space faster than we are. And look, it's not a race, but it's block and tackling. You know, I'm having a lot of fun doing it.
Pete, awesome hanging out. By the way, if Kim asks me one more time every week, can I just get a piece? Can I get a sample of this product you keep telling me about that Peter's doing? So you got to tell me how to get that.
Well, you know, eventually there'll be some opening up on the East Coast there. Like the closest to you right now is probably New York.
Yeah. No, awesome. Thank you so much. I know you got a long trip, so always appreciate it, buddy. Some serious stuff there.
Yeah, no, my pleasure, guys. Great chatting with you. Great to meet all of you. Good to see some of you again. And look, just keep grinding. You're in good hands here with Chris and Zach. These guys, they've been doing this for a long time. I've been watching them win now for what has it been? Has it been about 2.5, 3 years?
When COVID started, so yeah, 3.
Yeah. So anyway, you're in good hands, everyone. I'm here for you if you ever want me back on again, Chris.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it. Safe travels.
Take care, you guys.